Welcome to the One Up Podcast. I am your host, DJ Doughy Fresh. I'm here with my three friends, two
You can be friends with yourself, Doe. I believe in you.
Be friends with me. I'm also two different people in this episode, okay? I have my friend Mateo here.
What's going on, dude?
Yeah, and I got my friend Pucho here.
What's going on, my brother?
Yeah, we do not go back in special ed. We were not in special ed together.
That's true. It's the closest thing to special ed was that bullshit class, Miss Zivanov's class we had. That was a special class. It was just a regular English class, but there was some special situations in
It's
there.
where we met.
Yeah, it's where we met.
It's where me and Pucho met, and we got exhausted of this Holocaust movie. We were over the.
I don't know that I don't know what my take on y'all would have been if I had met y'all back in like elementary school and we were like, in the same grade or something in this hypothetical. I have no idea. I bet I would not have been friends with Tony.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking Tony talked just as much shit back then as he does now.
Yes.
So I don't know.
Yes. They didn't give him the McDonald's tapes moniker for no reason.
I don't know. When I think of meeting Tony like back in the 6th grade, I still picture him with that boot, even though he didn't have that boot till I want to say like the end of high school or after we graduated. Maybe.
How long did he wear this boot for that this is permanently imprinted on your memory of Tony?
It was like a good number of months. Like,
just I could remember 4 times or at least maybe 5 times. Because this is a man who broke both of his ankles on one dunk. All right?
Yeah, he went up for a rebound playing basketball, landed, and he claims he sprained both his ankles at the same time on landing. I'm like,
that's
I don't know
impressive.
If physically, if that's even possible, like how both your ankles gave way at the same moment. He said they had to carry him to his car because he couldn't walk.
I never tweeted that out. I just put it in our group chat on that video that I forget what movie I was watching, and that person falling down and breaking both their ankles.
The craziest thing was, I don't remember this happening because there was this video. Oh man, me and Mike used to love this video of the skier. There's this skier. He goes for like some jump. He hits a cliff, and he's like, my ankles are broken. I've got broken ankles.
You made me watch that before.
Ankles broke. My ankles are broken. I have broken ankles.
Our favorite part was just he screams this like 10 times, and then some random guy's like, he's got broken ankles. It's like, right, guy, that announcement was necessary. But how did we not connect this to Tony? Like when he sprained both his ankles, like it seems like it would have been so memorable in my mind, and I just can't remember this.
I also connect this to the recent video of the guys robbing the smoke shop. And then this fucking Asian guy takes out this huge knife and stabs this man. But the man starts to declare, I'm dead.
He's yelling,
He's stabbing me. I'm dead. I'm dead. Should we hit a little start activity?
I love this video. And this...
Did this man survive?
Honestly, we didn't even find out he survived till like yesterday, so I don't care about his survival. He went to go rob somebody's livelihood. I'm just saying, it's funny. It's crazy the shit that like people from the hood find funny. It's very strange. Like there was the one video. First off, wait. This "I'm dying, I'm dead" thing. He's like literally getting viscerally stabbed in this video. It's very uncomfortable to like watch, probably for most people. For me, I'm just like, it's whatever. I'm laughing at the idea that this guy's like, "I'm dying, I'm dead." He just proclaims his death.
The declaration is crazy.
And it gets me thinking. I'm like, bro, like there's certain things that we find funny that aren't funny. This man is getting stabbed to death in this video. Like, I shouldn't be watching this and laughing.
He didn't die.
He didn't die. He didn't die. But I mean, seemingly he's getting stabbed to death. Like, there's this one video where some guy runs into the barbershop and he just guns down a barber. Blah, blah. And then some guy getting his hair cut gets up and guns down the gun. What are you doing?
I'm trying to behave.
I see.
Is he acting out the video as well?
He guns down the gun, and there's a man in the video getting a hot towel treatment, and he does not move a muscle when these gunshots are whizzing through. He doesn't move, and we were just laughing at this guy. We were like, it was like, if I don't move, nobody could see me. Like he had full confidence in if I don't move, I won't get shot. And like we were laughing hysterically at a video where literally 2 men got shot and killed. They were dead, gunned down, and we're laughing at the guy in the chair. So there's a degree of like I'm desensitized to like violence. Almost only some videos I see where people are getting shot or hurt or something like that I'm like, fuck, like that's crazy. Like it's very rare that I have that reaction. Like my wife can't see stuff like this. She'll watch it and she has to turn away, and I'm just like, what? Like, you know what I mean? I don't know if that's like growing up on the internet mixed with seeing a bunch of shit in the hood. And I don't know. There's like a weird combination. Like if you go through WorldStar, the number of videos that are just so fucked up that you'll see on there. And it's like everybody in the hood be looking at this stuff and we're all like, oh, whatever. Like it's like super normal. I don't know. Something about that is interesting to me.
I mean, that was some stage of like the early internet, right? Like it was just sharing fucked up videos with your buddies. It was just like...
There was a series called The Angels, Faces of Death, or The Angel of Death, or some shit like that, like near deaths. And then I remember actually some like snuff films being uploaded to the internet. Really fucked up.
I've never seen anything like that.
There was one. I don't even know if I should be talking
Faces of Death, I swear, was just like a VHS tape that got passed around. I don't know if it was a real movie or not. I just remember like it happening at like a sleepover or something. Someone was like, oh, I've got this. And they put the fucking VHS tape in and we just watched fucked up videos. And it was not my favorite night.
Yeah.
The closest thing to that I could recall is like, I remember when that, like all those videos from like the Pain Olympics were going around. I don't even know if any of that was real or not. Like at the time I believed it to be real, but it was some really fucked up shit. Like people attaching hooks all over their bodies, chopping. Like a guy just went on there and just went to town on his cock with a hatchet. He just cut his cock off, cut it took the balls right out of his sack. I'm like, this is so incredibly disturbing.
Oh God!
I'm just like, but I don't even know if that was real.
See,
like,
and
you know what I'm saying?
See, well, and Doughy's over here all week. He's been talking about getting hit by a car, and this man chopped his dick off with a hatchet.
I could tell you, one of my brother was a sick man.
Yeah, your brother's the one who showed me this stuff. So
yeah. The guy that shoves a glass jar up his ass and then it breaks.
Oh no. I think I've watched a clip of that before. I think I've had that shared to me before.
That was rough.
One guy, one jar.
Yeah.
It's like the 2 girls, 1 cup era.
Yeah.
There's this video.
The internet was a different place, bro. You know how many times somebody disguised the link and it was those old people orgy lemon party shit? I was like, oh,
that's one of my favorite stickers that I used to see on the gas pumps. It was like, tired of high gas prices? Lemonparty.org or whatever the fuck it was.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, that guy, that jar situation is nuts. That's unbelievable.
Yep.
For people who don't know, this guy shoved a jar up his ass. And as disturbing as they may sound, it ain't even, that's not even the bad part. Then the jar proceeds to shatter. The pressure of his ass was too much for that jar. That shit was not Pyrex, all right? If it was Pyrex,
exactly,
it would have been fine. boom, the jar shatters. He proceeds to be, first off, leaking blood profusely out of his ass and picking chunks of glass out of his asshole. I've never seen that. To this day is one of the most disturbing things I've ever seen.
And my brother watched that for breakfast. That's what my brother would put on for breakfast. Bro.
Pancake, bacon, and eggs. He'd be watching shit like that. I'm like,
yeah, my brother was the worst, bro. He was, yeah. So yeah, that was a great part of my childhood on the internet. So I, like Mateo said,
yeah, I don't even know how the fuck we got here.
it's okay. I finally, it finally happened. It finally happened. I got clipped on the road and I went overboard, baby. I fucking went overboard. So I was in the bike lane. There's another car. A car's trying to get around another car. He went into the bike lane. There was a car parked. He like smushed me and my pedal went into the front side of his car and I went straight over. And I was like,
Where'd you land?
I broke my fall with my arms, and then I landed on this side, chest, stomach. So most of my aches are on this side of my body. Okay, so not
that bad. It's just bad for a guy in his 30s, you know?
Yeah.
If you were a teenager, you would have ate this and kept it moving like it was nothing.
Those injuries linger. Those injuries linger a little longer now. Shout out to our boy Stephen Beaumont, by the way. Speedy recovery to you, my friend.
Yeah, absolute facts.
Godspeed,
what a legend. Still skateboarding? Better man than me. I can never hop on a skateboard.
I hope he gets back on that board and he keeps kicking ass.
And fucking Tony Hawk's it, but he needs to wear his elbow pads and his knee pads. Mama Doughy says so.
Do you think the elbow pads and the knee pads would have protected him from
probably
this?
not. Probably not in this particular
I'm already
situation.
thinking about it. I'm thinking about it.
He probably had it on.
I'm thinking about me for the next time I actually get hit on the road. Like, I might need some elbow pads and knee pads.
I've been told you, but you told me that it looked like
dorky.
Tacky or something.
Yeah, because it's dorky. Yes. Protecting yourself does look kind of dorky.
Yeah, I rode bikes for a lot of my adolescence, and I never wore a helmet because I thought it looked lame. I was like, I want a cool looking helmet, not those stupid things that are like extra elevated. It looks like you have a second head, and then it has like all those like air slits. It just looks really lame. Those helmets are like the equivalent of like those strap sandals that the people wear when they're like tourists or going to like Disney World or something.
With a fanny pack on?
They got the fanny pack and those fucking strap sandals. I'm like, those helmets are the equivalent of that, and I just wouldn't wear that.
Ooh, and
so I wouldn't wear.
And they got
helmets.
their like khaki cargo shorts with like 40 pockets,
79,000 pockets, and they're pulling out every gadget. Every single pocket is filled with something.
Yeah.
No, that intersection that you got hit at though, that intersection honestly looks pretty fucked up because it's like a car lane, a bike lane, then a turning lane, and then there's that big construction barrier that entire length. I don't necessarily. And then
there's like a restaurant on the side.
I don't necessarily blame that car for like not noticing you because it looks like a fucked up little intersection there, honestly.
Yeah, it was funny. I wish I had it recorded. Before I fell, I said, "Yay!"
That's fucking ridiculous.
It was bad. It was bad. So that's what that guy heard. He pulled over to the side. He was like, "You okay, man?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm all right." And then he started to look at his like, I have metal pedals with like the prongs. So like there was 3 prongs.
You Wolverined his car?
Yeah, but it wasn't that bad, but it was noticeable. I was like, brake fluid's not gonna get that shit out.
What did he say? First off, is this a thing? Brake fluid on your paint?
If you have a small chip or a small like scuff on your paint, if you take a little bit of it, has to be like a very small surface scratch. If it's like deep, it's not gonna do anything. You take a little bit of brake fluid, you put it on a cloth, and you rub it around, and it should get it off.
Really?
Cool.
Yeah.
The more where's our little more you know star flying in?
More you know.
Shout out
is
to
Starship Troopers. Is that what the more you know?
No. Starship Troopers was. Would you like to know more?
Would you like to know more? I would, and some of those I would like to know more, and they didn't let me select it. right?
Yeah,
a little
they're-
disappointed.
That world was fucked up. The videos they're showing on the news is like they're desensitized to violence.
You want to go to a vacation? Zegama Beach.
Zegama Beach. How about a trip to the outer realms? Zegama Beach. Oh man, we're getting some Michael references today. That was Michael would just watch that just to get a chuckle. Yeah. So how was the guy's reaction after he hit you?
He did not give a fuck. He only cared about his car. He was like,
I
"Are you
would
good?"
have fist fucked.
It sounded like he checked on you first. Like said he.
No,
asked
he
if you
didn't
were-
check on me
Oh,
first. He
okay.
checked his car, and then I got up. I was obviously okay because I got up. I put my bike to the side. I was just checking myself. I took my bottle of water, just like started drinking water to like assess the situation. Like, cause I got a lot of adrenaline. I actually got so much adrenaline that I got a bad headache afterwards. Like my head was killing me afterwards, but I think maybe it was just my body, you know, the shock wave. It probably
or
rang my
maybe
head
flying
up a
off
little
the
bit.
bike and getting banged around actually
Yeah.
gave you a headache. But
Yeah. So I had like a really mean headache and I'm just my body's sore. So just if you are a cyclist out there, be careful. I'm being such a baby bitch now. On the road. I'm being the proper cyclist.
a baby
Damn,
bitch.
no more eating lights.
Yeah, dude,
No
I eat
Idaho stops.
I Idaho stop. I just you know, yeah. But yeah, we do have some topics, believe it or not.
Ooh.
I know that when you see my face, you don't see order and you don't see, you know, structure. But I want to show you another side of Doughy, all right?
We need to come up with a jingle. You know, it's topic time. It's the topic. You know, just something like right before we start getting into the topics.
What was Andy? What he wanted to go home every day. He wanted that song. What's it called?
Closing time.
Closing
He
time.
wanted to sing along. He didn't even want.
Yeah. So we had some releases today. We had some information put out there. Capcom had their showcase and Konami had their showcase. And Konami, it looks like they're going all out Silent Hill. It looks like they put their entire ball sack in the pussy. They tucked their balls in the Silent Hill pussy, the nurse pussy, to be more. Those nurses were kind of hot.
Y'all remember how we were discussing why does the audio keep getting pulled from our shorts on TikTok?
I think it's that. I think putting the balls in the pussy is a good candidate to get removed from TikTok. So.
And then it seems like they have Silent Hill 2, Silent Hill F, a TV show, and then it's something else. It seems like they have more than just the Silent Hill 2 game coming out.
Is there a TV show? I thought there's a movie sequel, right?
Something like that is going on. But like they're like all money into Silent Hill. If only they could do that, Metal Gear Solid.
They probably will.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I don't like. Go ahead, Mateo. Sorry.
We'll probably get that next year or something. That seems to be about like the way that things are going. Like we've talked about the remake hell we're in right now, but I got to tell you that Silent Hill 2 remake does look really damn good. I only played that game like once, maybe. I know I watched my brother play it, but I don't have the story in my head. I just have like the environment and like the memories of that. I'd be down to play that. It looks like good spooky stuff.
It is stellar. And like it's crazy because when you're playing the PlayStation 2 version, they have like this mist, but the mist was only there so that you like the field of view, I guess, the depth of field. They couldn't put it out there. You couldn't see the whole town.
Mm-hmm.
So they used this mist to like block everything, and it ended up working for them, and it created an aesthetic that now I think they can go further with. I think that is going to be a big part of it. I'm so happy that they're going into the Silent Hill. I love everything Silent Hill. The Silent Hill movie.
The models look good. The facial animations are closer to being good than they are to goofy. We're not 100% on our facial capture technology yet. Like there's still some wonkiness there.
So what I did notice is that they're using Unreal Engine 5, if I'm not correct. They're using like the new Unreal Engine, and that Unreal Engine, I don't know if you noticed, they released some stuff last year about the facial animations that Unreal is going to have, and they're doing like cutting edge technology with facial animations. I think this game is going to use it. Because I was like, oh, these expressions are like, this nigga's going through hell. And it's like, I was like, all right, this is like, I'm feeling something from this.
Yeah, you could, in the trailer, you could see like the flap of like, this part of his cheek or whatever while he was like screaming. And I was like, that looks better than most things I've seen. So I was like, I was pretty impressed. Like the only games I could think of that have like better facial like animations than that, I'm thinking like Uncharted 4, the Last of Us Part 2. Like those games have as close to reality as I've seen.
What is that game called? Senua's Revenge, Hellblade or whatever?
Yes.
That one was fantastic and had great facial animations.
Yes. That one got me a lot. Like when I was like, wow, this is like almost too good. You remember back in the day when we used to play Blizzard games and their cinematics were just like top notch and you were just like, oh, this looks real. It feels like that again. Yeah. I got that excitement. I was like, ooh, this looks surreal. Like they're blending the line between CGI and like actual human interactions. I thought that was really cool when I saw that. Pyramid Head looks fucking crazy.
Yeah, he looked great.
Mateo noticed he has like this one side of his pyramid is like a soft, like a cloth surface, and it has like a
spigot.
I don't think a spigot's the right word, but whatever the fucking thing is for like filling your tire or whatever, like the little thing you plug your
valve. What is the valve? Is that the word for it?
I'm gonna call it a valve. Yeah, there's like a little valve there. Like if first we were speculating maybe he fills his pyramid up with oxygen, but maybe the pyramid's connected to his ass and he needs to air the gas out, and that's what the valve is there for. When the pressure builds too much in there, it farts out.
Does that make him less scary because you can just smell him coming, or you hear the little valve? It's like Darth Vader. You hear that sound before he ever appears.
Yep.
Maybe he's like. Maybe it's the thing from Dune where he's like pissing and shitting into his like pyramid head and he's like eating it and then like shitting and coming back up again.
Yeah, I forgot the name of those suits from Dune. Oh my God, I love those suits.
Is Pyramid Head wearing a mask? Is that like a thing that does he have a human face under there, or is he just like...
I thought it was a metal tub. I thought it would put like a tub on his head or some shit like that.
Don't know.
I've never played Silent Hill 2, so I booted it up a couple months ago, played like an hour. It just didn't click for me.
You needed to have me there.
Some people on Twitter were like, "This is not the best Silent Hill, the greatest game ever made." I was like,
"Damn,
it's a high bar." So I was like, "Let me give it a shot." Didn't deliver for me. Yeah, but I'm not into horror, so
I will say the aesthetic, like Doughy said, is iconic. Like the aesthetic of Silent Hill is so damn cool.
Atmosphere. If you get the atmosphere down, then a lot of the other parts of the game fall through, and it's like, okay, it makes sense. Another game that has good facial animations that I'm playing now is the Last of Us remake for the first one. Very impressed. Facial animations going crazy in that game. I'm in Billstown.
This Silent Hill F looks interesting.
Yeah.
Did y'all watch the trailer for that one?
No, I did not.
Very odd, and apparently it's set in 1960s Japan.
Awesome.
And it
even better.
The creature design kind of gives me like Last of Us vibes, honestly. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's like this. One of the trailer parts has like just this person covered in like fungus, basically, like this like very vibrant, like colorful fungus.
Awesome.
I'm curious to see what they're going to do with that one.
You remember the fungus in the Mario movie? That was weird.
I love that. I still hold that the Mario movie is a good movie, okay? Unpopular opinion. I loved this movie as a kid, and I watched it not that long ago. Not as bad as we all remember, I'll say, okay? The fungus helps. Those boots are still fire. Not a good replacement for, the fact that Mario and Luigi jump high. That right, their answer to them jumping high was having these like fucking Koopa rocket boots or some shit like that.
Yep. Yeah, they had the jump boots.
but-
I wanted a pair of those
but-
jump boots as a kid.
Yeah, I wanted it so fucking bad. Those guns they had, fire. I think that's supposed to be like the fire flower. Those like
so.
bazooka guns they had, and yeah, yo, the scene where they like go into the locker room and finally put on like their iconic jumpsuits, like, and then they like strike a pose, and you got Mario and Luigi with the red, red and blue and the green and blue. Fire! I still love the scene.
Yeah.
It's good, and they pick good people. Neither. I don't think Bob Hoskins or John Leguizamo. Well, John Leguizamo is like Colombian. I don't know if Bob Hoskins is Italian or not.
I don't
but
believe
think,
he is.
I don't think they're
so.
Italian.
But he looked like Mario.
But they just it worked. I believed it. I didn't believe they were brothers, but I believed that they were who they said they were. You know what I'm saying? I like they doubled down on the Mario, Luigi, Mario. I was like, it's ridiculous.
It was so ridiculous. It was one of my favorite parts. Is like the Mario, Luigi, Mario thing, and they did not look like brothers. Maybe an uncle and a nephew that are closer in age than you would expect.
A father and son, dude. John Leguizamo looked like he just turned like 19, and Bob Hoskins looked like he went through his third divorce already. Like it was an age disparity for these guys to be brothers. But
He was young in that one. So Resident Evil 4 though is the other one that's got us stoked,
Whoa.
right?
I like what I saw. It looks like I'm happy that it looks like it's based in video game world. I don't want realism in my Resident Evil games. Okay, I want to be able to kick the shit out of these zombies and they go flying, and I'm like, yes.
I don't think they're zombies. Is this the Ouroboros or the? No, they're not. Ouroboros is Resident Evil 5. This is like Las Plagas. That's
Las
what it is.
Plagas.
I
hated this.
I never played this one. I watched my brother play like the first bits of this one on GameCube or something, I want to say.
Yeah, it's on GameCube.
But
It
I
even
never
runs
played this
better
one.
on GameCube.
Really?
Yeah, better than the PS2.
Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah, I think the graphically the GameCube wasn't as strong as the other consoles, but they were able to pump out better performance because of it. A lot of the games are consistently 60 FPS, like back in that era, and I thought that was dope. Yeah, so what I wanted to say earlier, I'm hyped that Konami is doing something. I know I'm kind of transitioning back to Silent Hill real quick. I'm hyped that Konami is doing something.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the list of games that they've like released, and not only have they, it looks like they haven't released anything this year, but like all they have are like DDR, like all these like rhythm games that I couldn't give a fuck about, and then like a Yu-Gi-Oh card game. And then just like re-releases, I could see like the Castlevania collection, the Contra collection, arcade classics. They re-released Zone of the Enders, but even that, the re-release of Zone of the Enders, that was 2018. It was 4 years ago.
Oh,
Damn.
wow.
So like, it's good to see that they're making a game. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like anything.
Instead
And
of
it
just
gives me
pachinko
hope.
machines.
Instead
Yeah.
of just pachinko machines.
Fucking
And it gives me hope.
pachinko.
It gives me hope that maybe they're putting some eggs back into the gaming basket, because like there was a time, man, where seeing even back in the in the 90s, seeing that Konami, that like diagonal thing come down, there's like that neon looking sign, seeing that logo came up, I knew I was going to be playing a good game,
Right?
like that, like and I don't know, it bums me out that like those guys that produced all that quality stuff just don't anymore.
Yep.
I'm really hoping they continue their trend of packaging up anniversary collections and things like that. I really want them to remake the first Metal Gear games, the two that came out in the MSX that are just like pixel graphics. I feel like even without Kojima, which I'm still very miffed about the fact that he wouldn't be involved in this stuff. I still want at least that. Remake those games. There's a good story to tell. Get it out of like this old 2D 1987 computer graphic, environment or whatever, give it some voice acting, some mocap, some ridiculousness. I feel like they could pull it off.
You just want to see him fight in the minefield.
I want to see Solid Snake fight Gray Fox on a minefield. Like, how epic is that? Like, this is the cool stuff. All those old Metal Gears, right? They grabbed a lot of the best snippets and then like almost like remixed it into like later games and stuff like that. Like the fact that you fight a Metal Gear and then after you defeat the Metal Gear, you then gotta fist fight the guy that was piloting the Metal Gear. It's like that's like Metal Gear Solid 1, right? You defeat Metal Gear, then you gotta fight Liquid on the top of Metal Gear. It's like you oh, I'm lying. This was a Metal Gear 2. I don't know why I said Metal Gear 1. Yeah, Metal Gear 2, you destroy the Metal Gear and then Gray Fox gets out and then they fist fight on the minefield. It's like, I just want to see that in 3D graphics with mocap and, the whole kind of insane art direction that Konami went for. I feel like seeing that like George Lucas, right? Like, if there was a time if you were like, you're gonna make Star Wars without George Lucas, I would have said unbelievable. I would not accept it. Then watching the abomination of what the prequels were, I was like, maybe he wasn't what the magic of Star Wars was. He may be the genius behind it, but maybe he isn't the essence of that magic. We saw the same thing with Keiji Inafune, right? He left Capcom and then he made that Mighty Number 9 bullshit, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be cool. The Mega Man guy is gonna make Mega Man. What a shit show of a game. I'm like, maybe he wasn't the magic behind the Mega Man games. Like, he may be the mastermind, the genius behind it, but you need all the other people. I'm hoping it's a similar thing. Like, maybe Kojima comes with the big ideas, but the guys at Konami are really the ones delivering. So maybe they could pull off a remake without him.
We had this conversation once. Didn't you say that a lot of the directors had producers that kind of kept them in line, and without those producers, the directors wouldn't really have like good games?
Yeah. Like, George Lucas's wife was heavily involved with the first trilogy.
Yep.
And she's the I think she edited those movies and she was a producer on those movies. And George Lucas didn't have full creative control over those movies. And they made 3 incredible movies. And then when they came out with the prequel trilogy, he was like God Emperor of everything. And to me, those movies are an abomination. So it feels like you still need that creative genius that is George Lucas, but you don't need him to have full control. Even Metal Gear 5, right? I have a lot of gripes with Metal Gear 5. We don't even know the full story about what happened there, but like, it could be that Kojima had way more control while making that game, and maybe that's why the game didn't hit on some of those cylinders we were looking for.
Yep.
Still, to me, like a 10 out of 10. Gameplay, top notch, nothing wrong with it, but it's not a Metal Gear game to me. It's just not. I don't care what anybody tells me. And it's like, maybe you need those people that were reining Kojima in to produce what we think of as a Metal Gear game.
Well, I mean,
and I'm hoping those people are still at Konami and they could still pull something like that
There's
off.
some series that like they seem to get better when they like lean into like the ridiculousness and like the goofy nature of like their story, right? Like the Resident Evil games, they seem like they've gotten better and better as they've gotten further and further away from like the Resident Evil 1 like story, right?
Yeah.
It's I don't even know how Resident Evil's gotten to the point where it is now. I don't care anymore. I like hearing Doughy talk about it because it's insane nonsense bullshit, but it seems entertaining as hell. And the gameplay has definitely gotten better, right? And maybe Metal Gear did the opposite. As the stories got more batshit insane, I actually kind of lost interest in Metal Gear a little bit. I wanted the story to make a little bit more sense.
Yep, I there's things I love in every single Metal Gear, but there are things that I don't in every single Metal Gear, save for maybe the first game. I just loved the first game through and through on the PlayStation 1. Every game after that, there were like weird decisions. Like the Raiden choice, I still to this day, I'm just like, I don't need it. Like in retrospect, it's probably not that bad, but still not my favorite. Metal Gear Solid 3, probably probably the best game in the series. The bosses are trash. Like Metal Gear has iconic bosses. The bosses of Metal Gear 3 trash.
I mean,
like
the boss fight
was
was
cool,
not bad.
No. The boss fight is fire, and then the end, very unique. Still not one of my. It's very cool how they did that fight, like across all these different maps, and you're in an active fight, but it doesn't feel like you are because it's quiet and you're sneaking around, and you're playing like this game of cat and mouse with like two snipers. Or very interesting situation. It still doesn't grasp like the cartoonish villains that you're looking for out of, like, if you go through that boss list in Metal Gear 1, it's just so good. It's like straight out of an 80s like action flick, and I was like, that's what I need from Metal Gear games, and they just never delivered on that post the first game.
Which one are we considering Metal Gear Solid 3? Is that Snake Eater?
Yeah,
Snake Eater.
I was gonna say, except for the boss fight, Snake Eater might be my favorite because I love all the other gameplay aspects of it. But yeah, the boss fights are weak. They're definitely weaker than the other games.
Yeah, it's like the pain. He controls like wasps. The fear. He fucking does weird shit with his body. He's a contortionist. Then there's the Fury. He's a guy in a spacesuit using a flamethrower. It's like.
You remember how slow the PS3 went when I tried to replay the pain? Oh no!
Oh my god! Sorry, I muted by accident. Yeah, the console chugs. It chugs like it's literally slow motion. The FPS drops to like 10 or something. It's absurd. It's very low.
I'm happy.
Sorry, I'm hitting a major deviation. I'm just happy Konami's making a game. Silent Hill looked good. Never been a Silent Hill fan, so I'm not really excited. I'm excited to watch Doughy play this game, and that's gonna be fun for me.
I'm excited to have a chance to try this game on the modern gen with modern graphics. Like, I'm sure that the old one honestly still holds up for people that enjoy those types of games. This one looks like the controls are going to be a little bit more modernized. There's going to be some quality of life improvements, and I'm on board for that because the games were hard. Back in the 90s and the early 2000s, games were just hard because we didn't have gameplay aspects figured out to the extent that we do now. So it'll be nice to get that. Resident Evil 4 looks cool. I don't know why that man had to burn that cow up in the trailer, but you know what?
I like
Shout out Peter.
Y'all know my stance. Just like, I don't give a fuck about animals. So the cow had to go. He was trying to kill them villagers. You know what I'm saying? My concern with the Resident Evil remake is I'm afraid they're going to be too faithful. Because watching this trailer, they're adding a little snippets. Like he in the game, he was on the radio talking to somebody. You didn't really see who. Now you see who he's talking. It's like some woman, and they're like chatting or whatever. And I don't remember. I vaguely remember Ashley getting infected. But I don't remember it looking like that. So maybe they're going to change some things, but it looks a little bit too close to the original. And to be honest, I feel like the first half of Resident Evil 4 is better than the second half. Like,
no. So like Resident Evil 4 had an issue. Resident Evil 4 had an issue. It had a first act, a second act where the game should have ended. And then the third act is like, we're going to go to an island. Like, it's like a whole other part of the game. So I feel like Resident Evil 4 was like a long game. So what I'm worried about is the Resident Evil 3 remake. They botched that. Not as good as I feel like it was hard grounds to gain. Resident Evil 3 always kind of was decisively like, nobody could really call it bad, but nobody could really call it good. It was just like, okay.
What was a big change to the series, right? Like, it was more action based than the previous ones,
way
right?
more actions. Think of Aliens, vice versa, Alien. Like,
the Resident Evil 3 did a lot of cool stuff, like Nemesis chasing you around, the decision making, that like action button that lets you like dodge. Or roll, like in certain instances. Very fucking cool for its time, and very difficult for a 9-year-old pooch. I had a very difficult time playing Resident Evil 3 as a kid. But yeah, what it did well, it did really fucking well, and then what it didn't do well, it didn't do well at all. And I think for what it's worth, the Resident Evil 3 remake, I didn't play it. I watched Jesus play a bit of it, didn't look very great. I like that they remade the essence of the game without being crazy faithful. Like, I don't want a faithful recreation of the game. Like, that exists already. I want you to remake it in a new way. Like, I loved Final Fantasy VII Remake. They kept a lot of the elements that we love about Final Fantasy VII, and they added so much content in between, so much character development for characters that just had like 2 blurbs of text. And they ended the game in such a way that the next 2 games in the series probably aren't going to be very close to the rest of Final Fantasy VII. That's going to be fun.
I'm all in on this love triangle now. But not even a love triangle, it's a love square now. We got Team Tifa, we got Team Aerith, and we've got Team Jesse. And
Zack is up in that shit. You know, Zack and Aerith was all, you know, a thing. And you know, the love situation is crazy. I'm Team Jesse now. All right. I didn't think I'd be. I'm all day Team Jesse. All right. But yeah, the trailer for Resident Evil 2 looked very promising. It looked fun. It looked the way that I remembered the game, and I guess that's good for a 20-year-old game. Like, it looks the way that I remember it. Obviously, the game didn't look this way.
Yeah.
And
and I like the twist they put on Resident Evil 2 where Mr. X is following you around.
Oh my God.
Building.
Sorry. I said Resident Evil 2. I meant Resident Evil 4.
I thought you said...
I was talking about...
I thought you were saying 2 like TOO.
Oh.
No. I said the number 2. I meant the number 4. I also like Resident Evil 2. I didn't like Mr. X. Fuck Mr. X. Yeah, Resident Evil 4, I'm looking at the trailer. It looks the way that I remember Resident Evil 4 for a 20-year-old game or whatever.
I've never seen a video game make Pucho more uncomfortable. I remember Pucho was like, yo, you mind watching this with me? Because this game is kind of like, it's giving me too much anxiety.
Oh, it's triggering your anxiety.
Yeah. Because you get to a point in the game where... I was just enjoying the game. You're like going through the police station. You're picking items up. You know, the Resident Evil thing, fighting zombies, all that bullshit. Then there comes a point to introduce this character, Mr. X. Well, he's like the Incredible Hulk. He's running around or walking really fast, like, you know, trying to find you constantly. And you could get away from this guy. His AI is set up in such a way where he's kind of always going to go where you are. And so any room you go to, like, the gameplay is like, go in, scour the area, look at what clues, pick up items, pick up key items. Maybe they help you with puzzles in another place. But now, this motherfucker will come in at any time and just like, you hear his footsteps and it's just like, this sucks. I don't even know what door he's gonna bust into. You're like looking. I don't like it. It was like, it's adding like a level of, it made the rest of the game uncomfortable for me. I just didn't like it.
That game needs a Kool-Aid Man mod where instead of using the door, he just busts through the walls, leaves like a little like Mr. X shaped like hole in the wall.
He busts through a few walls. I'm not gonna lie. The game gets good again as soon as Mr. X gets cut in half. They cut him in half and he dies, and I'm like, perfect. He won't. And then they get rid of the mechanic, and the game gets good again for me. But that period where, like, you explore like 60% of the police station up to when he dies, like that gap where he's walking around, it sucks. I don't enjoy it at all. and I realized there's a couple rooms that he won't go into. You can literally aggro him and he'll like stomp towards the door and he just can't get in. So like figuring that out made the game better, but I couldn't deal with being chased constantly. I couldn't deal with, like, It Follows, that movie we were talking about. I couldn't deal with that. Getting constantly chased by some fucking monsters, it ain't gonna do it for me.
Man, that gives me some context for our conversation on that one.
Yeah. So hopefully they change it in a good way, because I don't even think you remember. You remember on the island they introduced zombies with guns.
Zombies with guns. They had. First, they just had tools like shovels, axes. Then they were like throwing things at you, like scythes and just weird shit they would throw at you.
Asymmetrical warfare.
Then you get to this island and there's a zombie with a Gatling gun. Just straight Rambo. He's going Rambo on your ass, and it's like, this sucks. And they're they're strapped with like all these bullets. They just look like military dudes. Then you got motherfuckers with like dynamite throwing grenades at you, and it's just like, what is going on here?
There was this Sega CD game that my brother used to play called Corpse Killer, and I swear that game also had zombies with guns in it. It was just like very much like Area 51 style, like that kind of like shooter, but with like full motion nonsense.
Yeah, I'm not against zombies with guns. It feels weird. It came out of left field in Resident Evil. It was very unexpected.
I might be against zombies with guns. Zombies are scary enough without guns. Why do you got to add guns? Feels like it makes them less scary in my mind, actually.
Guns can make them less scary for sure, but a zombie with a gun reminds me of what is I Am Legend, all right? Where the whole world turns into actually they're vampires, by the way, but they just look like weird monsters in the movie. I like the idea. I mean, I feel like we discussed this on the pod. Spoilers for I Am Legend, all right? If you don't want to get spoiled by some book that came out like in the 70s or whatever. I think it's so interesting that like there's like this mutation, that virus, all these humans turn into vampires. There's some number of humans in the world that are immune to this, so they like haven't turned. And this guy is like in this town, and he's just like chopping up these zombies left and right, trying to find the cure. But at the end of the book, they label him a legend. Like to the vampires, you find out the vampires are intelligent. They have a society. They have a language, and all this stuff. And he is like the boogeyman to them. He's like a myth. Right? Maybe this leads into our next topic. He's like an urban legend or something to the families of these vampires. He's the guy who comes in the middle of the night and snatches you up and chops you up and all this stuff.
I did not think about it like that.
And it's horrifying to them.
The movie changed it. The movie had a different ending, but yeah, in the book, that's the ending to that story.
And the way they frame it is like, look, humans have evolved. We're the next evolutionary stage. You're the equivalent of a Neanderthal trying to bring the human race back. You know what I'm saying? We're vampires now. Like, that's what we are. You're still a human. Like, get the fuck out of here kind of thing. And, like, that's how they basically... And they kill that guy. They should rip him to shreds. That's how the book ends. But
wait, what's this book's name again?
I Am Legend.
It's the movie with Will Smith.
Really? This shit didn't happen in the movie.
No, they changed it completely.
This shit in the movie? This fucking dog, my dog. I love my dog.
When this dog dies, is a big deal.
There's an alternate ending to the movie that they shot. That like you can watch it on YouTube, and it's a little bit close to the book, but it's still not completely like the book ending.
Yeah.
Damn.
But anyways, the relevance of all of this is maybe zombies are the next evolutionary stage of the human race, and they're just using guns. And I like the idea that they're fighting back against, the human race. And eventually you'll have a couple, what was the guy's name? Robert Neville, I want to say, something like that. Robert something. And then you have a couple legends. Maybe Leon Kennedy survives this whole ordeal, and he's killing vast swaths of these zombies, and he's just a urban legend or a myth. What the scary story you tell your kids before you put them to sleep.
He's a terrorist in the zombie world. They're on the zombie news, like another terrorist attack by.
Real quick, Doom Eternal explores on that. The Doom guy is like a god, and everybody kind of knows him, and they're kind of talking to him. Everybody's super shook when they're talking to him
they're scared of him.
Yeah, because he's like a myth. He's like a legend. He's the demon killer. So I thought Doom Eternal kind of worked on that in a good way.
Yeah, and the 2016 Doom game, there's stuff you could read. It's like the history of the demons, I guess. I don't know what they are. And yeah, they discuss that. They call him the Doom Slayer. Because the Doom guy doesn't have a name. I like to think it's like a child of BJ Blazkowicz from Wolfenstein. That's my theory.
I think that they've made references to it being like one of his descendants or something. I feel like they've made references to it, but I'm not positive.
Yeah, that's my headcanon. I have no idea. I'm not even a big fan of all those. Who the fuck made those games?
I don't remember. id Software or something.
id Software. Yeah. John Carmack and them. Yeah, I'm not even a big fan of all those games. I've never played Wolfenstein until like the new ones that
The
came
new ones
out.
are good.
And I played Doom 1 when I was a kid, and then Doom 2016. Like that's my Doom lineage. Like, but in my head, that's what I got in my mind. It's like he's a descendant of BJ Blazkowicz. And yeah, and to parrot Doughy's point, I love the way that in those like texts that you find, the way that the demons talk about the main character, it made you feel more like a badass, even though you've already proven to be a badass because you've literally killed like 1 million of these demons at this point. But
Yeah, you're killing like 3 demons per second or something.
Facts. So, talking about demons and like mythical legends, I want to also combine 2 other topics. We got one, which is Halloween myths, like the myths of going out on Halloween and maybe the dangers that people would tell you before you went out. Like, and I have a lot because I was Jehovah's Witness. So, and then the other one is maybe creepy myths or stories from your childhood. Maybe you had an experience where something happened and it was very creepy, and maybe you want to share it. So,
well, I mean, the number one Halloween myth right now, and it has been as long as I've been around, is that people put razor blades and shit into people's candy. I don't think anyone's putting razor blades into candy. I don't think people are putting drugs into your kids' candy.
do you think there's a single case of anyone finding like a razor blade in a way that I would say is malicious, like in a candy? So like a kid goes to eat a candy and there's a razor blade in it. You think something like that has ever happened?
There might be like one or like a handful ever, right? Because people are fucked up, right? Like if you can think of doing something fucked up, someone's probably done that fucked up thing already,
bro,
right?
you'd have to cook it into the fucking shit. It'd have to be done at the factory. Think about how a razor blade would sit in the candy. You'd obviously be like, there's a razor blade in that candy.
It's like, what the fuck is Nestle trying to do to me? Okay. Yeah, so then it's like the equivalent of voter fraud in the U.S. So conservatives are going to talk about it, but there's no real impact on life.
These memes that came out this past week, some of these ones on Twitter about like shit and candy, pretty good. This one says, parents, please make sure your kids don't delve too greedily or too deep this Halloween. I just found a Balrog, servant of Morgoth, in my son's candy bar. And that might be my favorite tweet of the week. And Pucho muted himself accidentally again.
Fuck. I was gonna say the Balrog. That's the guy in the Fellowship of the Ring. Remember that the wizard. What the fuck's the wizard's name? Gandalf fights the Balrog when they're going through the tombs of Scoria or the mines of Moria.
The mines of Moria.
They go through this place. Remember, you shall not pass. That's against the Balrog pulls them down. You don't want a Balrog in your candy.
You do not.
Gandalf fought that guy for like the equivalent of like 1,000 years, and they were just falling down into hell for like 1,000 years.
Really?
Some weird. That's what he came back. He's not even the same guy. He's Gandalf the White now. He's had so much experience in.
He leveled up.
Imagine just fighting for 1,000 years and then you come back. You're not the same guy no more. You know, he came back. He's a Doomslayer now. He doesn't know how to talk to Frodo no more. Like he's like, I'll help you out, but I ain't the same guy you once knew. Hanging out in the Shire. It's different me. Mm-hmm. You don't want this to happen to your children. Is my point. Your child is young and innocent. Don't look out for them Balrogs in your candy. Right?
Imagine people taking expensive drugs. I'm just gonna slip him in this candy. They're gonna take off when he takes this shit.
Like what? All right, let's take this in the best faith possible. What is the strategy here? It's like, I'm gonna put some drugs in this candy. These kids are then going to eat my drugs, and I'm gonna turn them out. I'm gonna hook them, and then they're gonna come and buy drugs from me. Like, is that the strategy? Is that what people think is gonna happen?
How much money do people think kids have? Kids don't have drug money.
Yo, these kids are gonna be listening to Yeet, booted off that ecstasy. Dude, nobody's taking drugs, which are expensive. Like, drugs cost money. Just put in it. Every cokehead, every pothead. They're not giving their shit out. They want as much as they can get, bro.
Could you picture the production of spending like $45,000 on like a brick of coke or some shit, and then they're just like opening up all these candies and sprinkling them, repackaging them, and then throwing it in the bucket? They could take one, please. They put it in the take one, please bucket. Like
they're making $20 pixie sticks that are just filled with coke.
That sounds fire.
Yo.
That's an idea, Mateo. Like we could do this. Actually, I don't condone the selling of drugs. Okay, but it would be interesting in a movie to see like everybody going to like some nightclub or something, and they're just selling pixie sticks worth of, I don't know, what the drug of your choice,
something in powdered form.
Something in powdered form. Maybe imagine a pixie stick of just acid. You know, just like,
oh man,
you know, do that. It'd be nuts.
Cocaine, cotton candy. That's a lot of C's.
I don't like cotton candy, dude.
Cocaine, cotton candy.
I can do some cotton candy, but it's sticky, and that's
so
not
sticky.
my favorite thing. It's like Cheetos. I eat my Cheetos with chopsticks now because I don't want to get that shit all over my fingers. It's the way.
Chopsticks. Oh my God. What?
It's a trick, dude. She-Hulk even did it in the She-Hulk TV show, and I was like,
That's ridiculous.
damn. I was like, I'm glad someone else is doing this crazy shit that I picked up from some internet video years ago.
That's got to be like a way to practice chopsticks, because I don't see why anybody would waste their time doing that.
Like
Save your fingers, dude.
When I eat Cheetos, though, I don't go as far as Mateo with chopsticks, but I don't use my fingers. I just sort of eat them out the bag. I go like, because I don't want to have the Cheeto fingers. You know what I'm saying?
Somebody offered me Cheetos tonight, and I fucking declined, and now I regret it.
Oh,
Why?
damn.
Because I would have pulled those out, and I would have been right now the Cheetos.
You would have got chopsticks. Do you know how to use chopsticks?
No, I can't use chopsticks. Anytime I'm at an Asian restaurant, I'm like, forks, please.
I love the all the people go to the Asian restaurant. They whip out the chopsticks. They give it a college try, and then they put the chopstick down and eat with a fork. It's like a funny ritual that Americans do with Asian food. Everybody's like, oh, they struggle with the chopsticks, and they're like, all right, fuck this part of Asian culture, and they just start stabbing everything with a fork. This is funny as hell to me. I remember I went to Japan for 2 weeks on vacation. And prior to going to Japan, I remember me and my wife were like, all right, cool. We need to start hitting up the Asian restaurants, and we're only going to eat with a chopstick. Like, we need to learn. Because you go to some of these rural places, I mean, pretty much everywhere has a fork and stuff like that. But you don't want to be the Americans in Japan eating with a fork. It feels weird. So we made an effort. I'm a proficient chopstick eater now.
I will show them niggas the tricks they need to know. I'll be like, look at all the meat I have on here.
Yeah, no, I'm not Japanese though. Those guys are impressive. Like they're grabbing wads of rice, chunks of meat in one like scoop of their stick, and I'm like, it's just too. I don't know how you're doing that, but it's a more efficient form of eating than a fork for sure.
I'm pretty sure that my chopstick method is not like the actual way you should do chopsticks, but it's what I have learned, so it works for me. But I bet there's more efficient ways.
I'm sure if you gave me 2 sticks, I'd learn how to fucking eat with them too. You know what I mean? Fucking,
you would just end up using your hands,
scraping it.
So what other myths do we got? The razor blades and candy, the drugs and candy one is like the one that I hear like recycled all the damn time.
I mean, so for me, from like the religious aspect, bro, there was so much. You're worshiping the devil. You're putting on the clothes of the demons and you're acting out on their wishes. That's what people told me. You are a servant of the devil. Like when you go out, I'm like, damn, them niggas is getting candy. It's the sweet taste of the demon's blood.
Damn.
Like, get the fuck out of here.
That's how they lure you in. They lure you in with the candy,
the nectar.
and then they hold you with the Satan. That's what they're doing.
So for me, it was just like super religious, super biblical, and I just couldn't figure it out. I was like, these two things are not coinciding. I'm like, I don't see these people. These are my friends. I didn't see them as like demon worshippers.
He's like, it's hard to picture my best friend Greg in 5th grade is some demon worshiper after Halloween. Like,
He dressed up as
these people trying to sell me.
He dressed up as a Ghostbuster. I don't think he's worshiping the devil.
Yeah, my best friend Roger used to celebrate Halloween, and through him, I used to get the candies.
Was he not a Jehovah's Witness?
Not at all.
Oh, I thought so. I don't know why.
No, it was through him how I got all my.
That's
to his house. Yeah.
That's a holy. Did he give you good picks of candy, or did you get leftover candy?
I will stand to this day. That dude is like my brother, bro. I met him in 3rd grade. We were in the bathroom, and he was selling 50 cent Mortal Kombat pictures.
Nice.
of really cool. Like, to get over here.
Was he making sales?
He made a sale for me. I was like, yeah. I said, I need that. And ever since then, that was my boy.
Damn, what?
In the bathroom. Why he chose that area to sell?
It's private, bro. There's no soliciting in schools. Everybody knows this.
So ever since that day, yeah, he was my friend. So through
speaking
him,
of Ghostbusters, did you guys see that new Ghostbusters game?
No, isn't it like a 5 versus 1? Like a kind of like these
It
games
looks
that
cool.
you don't like?
Yeah. It's one of the games I don't like.
I'm pretty sure that James and Elise Willems from Funhouse are involved in that game in some way. I think they're doing some of the voice writing and the voice acting or something like that.
Yeah, I could believe that. I think Greg Miller's in the game too.
Mm-hmm.
Get out of here.
Yeah, it looks good, honestly.
I don't know. It looked cool. Like, I don't like these like what was the
asymmetrical
word? Asymmetrical like multiplayer games where you have like that's symmetrical though, where they have where you have like 4 players against like a monster or something like that. I'm not a big fan of them, but this seemed cool. It seemed like there's stuff for the monster to do beyond try to kill people. Like, the people are trying to kill you, and you're trying to do like missions. Like, you gotta accomplish. It kind of gave me like Among Us vibes, where this monster is like trying to do all this shit in order to win, and these guys are trying to chase down and find the monster. It's kind of flipping the instead of the monsters chasing the characters. I mean,
like
there might be some aspect of that. Right. I don't know. It looked cool.
There's something about those asymmetrical games that kind of grabs me sometimes. Like Prey seemed really cool, but it wasn't that fun. I like the concept of it. I just haven't found a lot that actually have like entertained me as much as I wanted. I think the best one I've ever played was this shark one, where it was like 4 people are divers and 2 people play as sharks that are like attacking the divers while they're looking for treasure. That one was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's interesting. I remember Left 4 Dead 2 was the first game that I remember introducing this like asymmetrical kind of multiplayer or whatever. And then I started seeing them crop up. But yeah, there was like I think there was an Aliens game that's like this where you play with Marines.
There was a bunch
Evolve
of
game that
kind
of tanked.
The Bigfoot game that I want to play with you.
Not Prey, it was Evolve.
Evolve, yeah. The Bigfoot game is one of those games, but you could play 2-player co-op, but like the computer is really good at being the Bigfoot.
So Halloween myths.
Yeah, sorry. You just mentioned Ghostbusters, and I was seeing that game.
But
we had some very individual ones. Like there was a house that my older siblings, my older cousins, that house was haunted. It only ever came up on Halloween that house is haunted. There was a crazy lady that lived there. She abducted kids, and we would go there for candy every year. And it was a crazy old woman that lived in that house alone. But they would it was like a fear thing. They would build up that anxiety in you as we were walking to this house. And of course, this house was like the furthest house away, all by itself in this neighborhood we would go to. So, you're walking for 5 minutes and they're like, oh man, I don't know if we want to go to this house. oh man, it's so far away. You know why she lives so far away? So you can't hear the screams, and just gassing us up.
You know, I got one worse than a Halloween myth, all right?
Mm-hmm.
When I was a kid growing up, my closet was haunted, all right?
Whoa.
I had a
was
closet
haunted.
in my house that I was horrified of. I could not go to this closet. I was horrified of this closet. It was in my room, and I would fall asleep staring at that door, just scared like shit. It was horrifying. So the story goes, my brother and one of my cousins, they go into this closet and they start saying Bloody Mary in the closet.
Mm-hmm.
And then they saw blood start dripping from the walls. And then, meanwhile, my other brother and another cousin start holding the door, allegedly, like locking these poor kids in the closet with Bloody Mary, and they're banging the door to get out because they're horrified of the blood coming out of the walls, and yeah, they were just like holding them in there for a while. Then they escaped. They escaped the clutches of Bloody Mary. But I'll say this: there was some red shit streaked on that wall, and that scared me to death. I remember occasionally my mom would go in there to like, cause that was like it was like a weird closet. We didn't really have a lot of clothes in there. It'd be like a bunch of coats and shit like that. But it was in a bedroom. My mom would go in there occasionally and clean things out, and I was scared for her. I was like, "You're gonna get murdered in there." I had an irrational fear of Bloody Mary as a kid because of this story. Like, I would go into the bathrooms and take showers. I'd look at mirrors and be horrified that I'm gonna see some crazy motherfucker trying to kill me. And yeah. So that was, I guess, worse than a Halloween myth. But I thought about that shit all year. It sucked.
I've got a similar experience, actually. There was this, so my grandma collected dolls, right? And she had all these dolls in this room. So this room was already creepy because it was just a bunch of like ceramic dolls and shit like that in display cases just staring at you. But she also had this like big, it's like a wardrobe, an armoire, something like that, right? One of those big like it opened up, and that's where like she had a bunch of like dresses and things hung, but there was also like enough room in there for like kids to go and fuck around in there. So
it's like
we
the
played
Indian in the cupboard. It's like a thing that
kind of like that. And we played a lot of like hide and seek and, you know, kids games like that. And I remember that every single one of us at some point tried hiding in there. That was one of the spots we tried hiding in, and weird shit happened. Like, you'd get locked in there, and there wasn't a lock like that we had access to. That you had to like use a key to lock that thing, but people would get locked in there. Some of my cousins claimed that they heard like banging sounds outside, which could have been someone else just fucking with them. But everyone swore up and down that they had not gone in there and banged on it or anything. There were weird experiences I can explain away, but I don't have any proof of either way. You know, it's just
that. Kids are fucking weird with like, I need to talk to my brother, because I remember for years after that he would say, yeah, absolutely, that's what happened. I saw the blood coming off the walls. My brother is 36 years old now. 38. I think he'll still say that he saw the blood, and I don't know if he's lying or not. You know what I'm saying? Well, no, my brother's not a liar. My brother's not a liar. He don't make shit up. Obviously, I don't believe any of this. There's no way blood came out of the wall. But I could believe he thought he saw blood coming out of the wall.
See, I never heard any of the knocking in this particular wardrobe, but I did get locked in there once. And we don't have a good explanation for how I got locked in there because, like I said, there was a key. Like, that's how you locked and unlocked that thing. It was old school. Weird shit, man. Weird experiences as kids. But it could have just been a lock failure, right? Like, it could have been like it was pre-locked and I just didn't realize it. But like my cousins also swore that like sometimes they'd walk by that room and that door would just be like in the process of like sliding open on its own and shit like that. It was a creepy room. The dolls definitely did not help the vibe in that room.
Yeah. My wife's grandma was like a doll collector.
My God.
And I remember one of the times first times I went to go like visit her family, she put us up in one of these rooms where she had all these dolls. Sleeping in that room with all those little ceramic faces staring at you, not the vibe. I'm
Yo,
not into it. It wasn't good
not
for me.
that. It's the life-size version of Jesus sitting in the corner staring at you.
I don't remember that.
Yo,
He's
just
life-size?
looking at it is
He's as tall as
big. It's big, bro. It's there. It's looming too. It's watching you. All right, and it's judging.
Doughy, would you rather have sex in front of that thing or with a cat watching you disinterested from a chair or something?
I want to have sex in front of that thing, and I want to look at it, and I'm like, yeah, Jesus.
Oh wow, I would prefer a cat personally. I would look at that statue multiple times. It'd make me uncomfortable. I had another story. There was, it's kind of sad. There was these kids that I don't know what they're doing. In our neighborhood. There were so many stories about what happened, but long story short, there were these two young kids. They were jumping from building to building. One of them fell off and died in my neighborhood when I was growing up. The stories that came out of this was like they were doing drugs, they were running from the cops, they were doing this, they were doing that. Like, I don't know what happened. There were kids in the neighborhood we knew, but it wasn't like I was like personal friends with them or whatever. Mm-hmm. But there was one particular story about how allegedly he made the jump. He's hanging on the edge of the building, and this old lady that nobody ever knew or anything threw him off the building. She came to pull him up, but she Mufasa'd him.
Damn.
She grabbed his hand and threw him off. And then I was creeped out that I'd run into this lady as I was, walking through the neighborhood. And she was like, she's gonna kill me somehow. It might have been Bloody Mary that did it to him as a kid. You know what I'm saying?
Believe it or not, that's not uncommon in New York. It still happens to this day.
Old ladies throwing kids off buildings?
No,
Horrifying.
kids hopping buildings and dying. Young teenagers, 16 years old, girls, boys. It still happens. Just recently in New York, a kid's from the elbow down, bro, got maimed subway surfing a train.
Subway surfing seems so insane to me. I don't understand the appeal of that at the least. But I will say, I have been on top of a very tall building before, and I've seen another building was a little bit lower, and I've had that thought in my head, like, I bet I could jump that. I bet I could make that jump. Never acted on it though. Don't think I would.
Never.
I might be afraid of heights. I've never gone up high and been afraid of heights, but whenever I'm up high and I look over edges, I get uncomfortable.
Same.
I remember one time we did this guy's trip to Tampa, me and my friends, and we were just drunk and fucking around, and we went to the roof of this hotel. I don't know. I think the maintenance door was open. It wasn't supposed to be open. We're on the roof now. And it's a pretty fucking tall building. And we're on the roof. There's it's not like New York. Those New York buildings, they're designed so that people could be on the roof. It's at least chest high. So to jump this thing, you have to have the intent of there's some older buildings that those walls are lower, but for the most part they're tall. This thing was as high as your ankle. In fact, it's like a tripping hazard because you hit that thing, you could fall off. And I remember looking over the edge and getting so the heebie-jeebies. I was like, all right, I gotta get the fuck off this roof. Somebody's gonna do something stupid, and I'm gonna regret being up here.
That would make me uncomfortable too, honestly. Just having no barrier, no even tiny barrier.
So there's my brother, and he does that shit all the time. I'm just gonna sit on the edge of this, and then there's death in front of me. Yo, I fucking hated when he did that, bro. It would give me goosebumps for hours. I was like, I can't, just get off. Just sit on the bench. Why do you have to sit on a cliff's edge?
I was afraid of the elevator shaft as a kid too. I think there were demons or something down there. I don't know. There was some weird story. The kids used to ride the elevator, pull the emergency stop button in between floors, so that if you were outside of the elevator, which I used to be, I've never done this because I was like, I'm not stupid. I'm gonna die if I do this. So standing outside the elevator, what it looked like was the elevator was, you could see people's feet at your eye level, and then a hole of death under the elevator, right? And so they would pull the emergency stop, open the door from the inside, and then they would jump out from under that like gap. They would like jump out of the gap. This is just like kids doing stupid shit for fun kind of thing. Because we're growing up, we're poor and bored, and we don't got a lot of shit to do.
God damn, that's dangerous.
And I'm like, seeing that was horrifying. And I remember they had stories of like, they were saying, oh, kids have fallen down there and died. The old lady yanked somebody that tried to jump out, and she yanked them.
Is this the same old lady that threw that kid off the building?
It has to be. It has to be.
It has to be.
There's a creepypasta story with elevators that I came across one time where they were the claim in this story is that you can open a portal to another, like almost like an upside down version of the world, like the Stranger Things upside down world, by going to, there's a certain order you go to in the elevator. You go to like the 4th floor, then the 8th floor, then the 2nd floor, and some shit like that. And at some point you turn around, and then you're not supposed to, like, you'll hear the elevator doors open and someone get in, and you're not supposed to look at them, and there all kinds of crazy shit like that. I always like those little like creepy pasta things like that.
Yeah, the fact that there's no 13th floor on any building in America says a lot more to superstitions, though. Like, that's a building superstition. You build a building, you never have a 13th floor. Why? Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
I've never looked into why we think 13 is unlucky, honestly. Like, that does have me curious.
Yeah, the 13th floor. Every New York building you go into, there's no 13th floor.
So other cultures have their own unlucky numbers. I wonder if there's similar things in other countries. Like the number 4 is bad, right? Like I think my boss is
Chinese.
He's a Chinese American. He's told me that like the number 4 skis him out when we're buying things for like the team or the company or something. He'd refuse to buy them in increments of 4. We buy in increments of 5. We buy 3. Like he doesn't let us buy 4. I wonder if that's a similar thing though. Like, do they have like no 4th floors? Is that the way that those things work?
Yeah, no, that's I'm curious as well. But how one superstition could stay that prevalent, and you're talking about engineers. These people are educated and they believe in this superstition. It's weird.
So it's not that they believe in the superstition, is that they know the people that are going to use this stuff believes in the superstition.
Really?
So it's that, yeah, because it's like, imagine you're building a hotel and you have a 13th floor with a bunch of rooms that nobody wants to stay in because it's the 13th floor. It's like, you'll be losing out on a whole floor worth of money. Just call it the 14th floor and you got no problems anymore.
I see.
Which is kind of stupid of people. The fact that it's labeled 13 is how it gains its power, not by the fact that it's actually the 13th floor. Like, you know what I'm saying? It is the 13th floor no matter what number you put on the fucking plaque.
Exactly.
Even though it says 14, that's number 13.
But people are like, perfect. Like, it makes no sense. Apparently it has something to do with the fact that Judas, one of Jesus' disciples, is the 13th disciple, and he's the one that actually betrays Jesus.
Interesting.
I see.
I think for silver. Some 20 pieces of silver, 4 pieces of silver, something like that.
Kind of like the Judas in this podcast who's not here.
Some would say. Some would say he would say.
He's our number 4.
Lucky. Some would say we benefit the three-man podcast.
I don't like being up top. Can we rearrange it so we have one up top and 2 on bottom?
Apparently I'm the bottom. Junior will be proud of me.
Yeah, no, facts. Big facts. Let's take it into a little different direction, but kind of adjacent to what we're talking about. When you are watching a show or anything like a clip, a movie, what really immerses you in the horror experience when you are viewing what kind of movies, whether it be sci-fi, like Aliens, or you look at a movie like Tremors, where it's kind of scary and like the thought of the lava being the ground being lava kind of, and you gotta like the thought of that is scary, but they turned it into like a comedy movie. How do you guys feel about these different genres, and what do you feel like is the scariest, and maybe what's the least scariest? What takes you out of a film when you see it in like the horror genre?
All right. I just listened to a podcast about this. It was kind of funny. I had a lot of irrational fears growing up. One of the things that scared the living fucking daylights out of me was quicksand. The idea, the idea that I could like just walk and then bam, I'm in quicksand and I'm just dead. It's a slow death. You're not getting out of this thing. You're fucked. That horrified me.
Yes.
Growing up in New York City, zero chance I'm gonna encounter quicksand. Zero chance there's quicksand. Zero chance I'm gonna see a cheetah. Those are things I was afraid of as a kid. But I just had these fears, like, quicksand was horrifying. And it's interesting, I listened to a podcast, Radio Lab, actually. They just did like a 17-minute podcast or 20-minute podcast on quicksand. And they were like, they had a teacher ask kids today about quicksand. No kids in America today are afraid of quicksand. In fact, it's comical to them. Meanwhile, for past generations, this was a thing that was scary.
There's even quicksand porn.
What?
That's what I was gonna say. They talk about first. They went to go look up why quicksand was a thing in some generations of Americans and not in other generations of Americans. And what they found was, by finding the quicksand porn people, there's this whole community of fetish. They're like into quicksand fetish, which is weird to me, but I don't know. I shouldn't shame, fetish shame or whatever. Kink shame. There's people that get off by looking at quicksand. There's people that get off by seeing people get put in quicksand, by being in quicksand, by having sex in quicksand. And it's cool. They have like these maps. It shows all the quicksand in America. So you could like look for where quicksand is. And they have how deep this quicksand. They have all these ratings of the quality, the viscosity of the quicksand, how deep it is, how dangerous it is, and they always go in with a rope. They tell people go with a person and go in with a rope. Where I'm going with this is, they also have they've mapped out every single movie where quicksand was in the movie. And it turns out like in the 30s, there's not a lot of movies. The 40s, not so much, but a little more. The 50s, quite a bit. 60s, the peak of quicksand. 60s was the peak of quicksand. 70s and 80s, close to the 60s, but lower. And then by the 90s, quicksand's gone. In 2000s, no more quicksand in movies.
It must have been those like pulp novels and like comics and things like that really like helped this spread of like quicksand as a thing and like the social like discussion, right? Like Indiana Jones, I guarantee you that there's quicksand in Indiana Jones, right? Isn't there a scene with that? And that's based on all those old like serials and pulp comics and shit like that.
There's quicksand in the Jungle Book. That's like the only movie that I know that has
quicksand in Apocalypto, right? He falls into a thing of quicksand. And that's like a later movie. There's already the era where no quicksand. And they even got quotes from the guys who wrote Lost. They were like, perfect setting for quicksand, and that they would say occasionally a writer would say, "Oh, Kate fell into quicksand," and they'd go, and
no one's scared of quicksand anymore
because nobody's scared of quicksand anymore. It's like a funny trope. Now it's like, oh wow, they used the quicksand thing. So I don't know. Sorry, I'm not trying to make this about quicksand. It's just funny to me that I was so scared of this at some point, and now nobody's scared of it. I don't think of quicksand anymore. It's just weird.
Getting pushed into the fucking train tracks is scary.
Oh my god,
nightmares.
What is that Japanese horror movie, or it's a Korean horror movie? It's an Asian horror movie where it's like the girls jump in front of the train in the beginning of the movie, and that's like something about that scene always freaked me the fuck out. I forget the name of it. Like Asian horror though is fucking top notch.
Yeah,
because I was gonna say zombie movies not really scary anymore. That's not really a thing that scares me. But,
I see a zombie, I become unscared.
But some of the flips on it they've done have been pretty good. Like 28 Days Later, phenomenal. There's this movie called called The Sadness. I don't know if y'all saw that when it came out last year, and it's kind of like it's very similar to like 28 Days Later. Like people get infected by this virus and they just start fucking up other people. And that shit is frightening because these are people that are like, they're not full zombies. They're not like zombies, like brainless creatures. They are people that are purposely trying to injure others. There's a scene with like some garden shears. It's pretty fucked up.
Fuck.
Sorry, excuse me. I'm sneezing and yawning like a motherfucker. Yeah, so I agree with you, Doughy. I'm scared of the whole train push. I don't know. Are you scared of it in movies, or are you just saying a fear you have?
Like, so for me, like I said, zombies kind of take me out of the, like, once I see it's a
What
zombie.
did I just say? Did I say zombies?
You
No,
said
train push.
Oh,
Train
sure.
push.
Okay, cool. I was like, dude, my brain must have just exploded when you started talking about zombies. I'm like, did I say? All right, my bad. Go ahead.
I mean, like, I find it's weird because I watch a movie that's completely baked out of reality, like Alien, and it's like none of this shit is even available to. And for me, that whole thing makes more sense than some of the zombie movies I've watched, and I'm like, those are more scary. I always find something about being in space, being alone. All that shit is way scarier than even The Martian, even Interstellar. Like these movies that are not scary, but like just the thought of being out there by yourself, floating in a black hole, that was scary to me. It was exhilarating. I was like, "Oh my god!" Like I'm feeling so many feelings right now.
Yeah,
When in
the Martian's
Interstellar,
incredible.
The Martian also. Really good.
Yeah, reading that book was horrifying for me because I'm like, it's so fascinating to go through like this guy trying to survive this horrible situation. I would be horrified and I'd be like, I don't know what to do. I just gotta wait until I die, kind of thing. And that fucking freaks me out. Just like quicksand, you just gotta wait until you die.
Suicide Club. Suicide Club's the one I was thinking of. The movie starts and there's like a bunch of mass suicides, and one of them is like 50 some odd schoolgirls jump in front of a train and commit mass suicide together, and it's just like waves of mass suicide taking over like this country. It's a solid movie. It's been a while since I've seen it.
In the beginning of Persona 5 Royale, that's something, or in Persona 5, that's one of the main plot points is that a train guy took himself out and killed a bunch of people that were on the train. A conductor or something like that.
So I'm not really. So there's some slasher stuff that I find genuinely scary. Like seeing the movie doesn't freak me out. Thinking about this in reality really freaks me out. Like out of all the horror stuff that exists, Michael Myers is some of the scariest thing to me because I'm like, there could be a man with a mask and a knife. He could go in a couple cribs. He could kill some people, and that freaks me out. Like that could happen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There was
Well, some of the slashers are not scary, right? Because like Freddy Krueger, not scary. I think the movies are kind of goofy for the most part. Jason Voorhees is not as scary as Michael Myers. I might enjoy the Friday the 13th movies more than the Halloween movies. Although that first Halloween movie is so good.
The Jason Voorhees freaks me out too. Like,
Yeah?
ignore all the crazy stuff about Jason. Something about being in a campsite in the middle of nowhere, it lends itself to thinking that there's a guy in the woods. Like, and that's what Jason is. He's the guy in the woods snatching people up.
Yeah.
You know? He's climbing in your windows, he's snatching your people up.
But Michael Myers Michael
You better
Myers
call
is
your wife, call your husband because they raping everybody out here.
oh man, that dude.
Anton Dodson, man. What a throwback.
But Michael Myers is rooted a little bit more in like reality, right? Because it's a dude with a fucking mask and a knife, right? And there is something scary about that. That movie, The Strangers, used to be one of the scariest movies to me because there's this fucking line at the end of that movie. Spoiler for a 20-year-old movie at this point or whatever it is. But there's this line at the end of this movie. It's just this Just it's basically 3 people in mass just terrorizing this couple that's alone in this neighborhood by themselves. And they're not even actively trying to kill them at the beginning. They're just fucking with them. Like there's scenes in that movie where like they're having a conversation and some weird shit's already happening and they've already made it into the house. In the background of the scene, you'll see one of them like walk through like the hallways behind them. No horror music stinger or anything. It's just you see them in your peripheral and the couple is just completely unaware they're there. Anyway, end of the movie, they end up murdering them, right? But the scariest fucking line in that movie is they're murdering them and the girl's begging for her life and she's asking, why are you doing this to us? And the girl responds, she's like, because you were home. And that's the whole fucking justification for this random act of violence. It's just they knocked on the door, someone answered, they decided to murder them. That shit's scary. Humans are scarier than supernatural stuff.
Yes, because it's like, oh shit, anybody could do this shit.
It's the most realistic thing that could happen.
Yep.
Like, so the one that rings out for me was the choice that we chose last year, like The Shining. That's a good horror movie because in the beginning you're not expecting it to go the way it goes. You find out some Indian burial ground stuff. Not only that, but you find out that the director kind of tortured that girl. If you look it up,
yeah.
The part where she was with the bat and she hits him and he falls down the stairs, that was done so many times that like her reaction wasn't of her being scared. It was of pure exhaustion of doing that scene over and over and over and over. So I think like there's like an actual scary part of that and an actual like, oh shit, the reason I felt so crazy is because she was exhausted. Like, I guess the director wanted to get that out of her. Also, they didn't tell her that he was going to come, Jack Nicholson was going to come through the door with the axe.
I've heard that one.
So that reaction of her and the kid when that happened was like, it was a natural reaction to it.
Well, allegedly, I remember reading this. I'd never looked into it too much to see what's true. Allegedly, that kid has no scary memories from filming that movie because they actually kept the kid away from all the scary stuff. Like somehow they shot it so even though he was reacting to scary stuff, wasn't actually seeing it, wasn't aware it was a scary movie.
I was gonna say I've read that too. He had no idea allegedly that he was in a horror movie.
Yep, which is cool, right? Don't need to traumatize kids to make a movie.
Stanley Kubrick's only a little bit of a piece of shit then, right? But because apparently he tortured that woman.
Yeah,
yes.
Like not just through exhaustion and all of that. Like he tried to put her in the mindset where she would have anxiety and real fears and all that kind of stuff. But,
yeah. It took. I think that she had PTSD from fucking filming that movie. It's like
Jack Nicholson went through like 12 fucking doors before they got the right shot.
Here's Johnny. I think that's improvised.
I think it's an ad lib. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm also scared of the supernatural found footage movies. Freak me out.
Yes.
Like watching like Paranormal Activity and things like that, because it's like we've all had that feeling where you hear that sound in your house and you're like, you go and look and you don't find anything and you're like, oh, is there a ghost? Like, and I don't believe in ghosts. I wouldn't say at all, but I know I'm lying to myself because I still get creeped out by a presence that isn't there, which means that I have a little bit of belief that this is possible. You know what I mean? If I didn't think it was possible at all, I wouldn't have any fear. So it's like, maybe I'm like Michael Stein. I'm not superstitious, but maybe I'm a little bit stitious, you know?
Yeah.
But dude, like seeing like the Paranormal Activity styled movies where like things are moving and all this like creepy shit is happening, but it's shot in such a way that it feels real. Like, you know, it doesn't look like a film. It looks like an iPhone is filming this or a camcorder or something.
Yeah. It's a random whole movie.
That stuff, I leave watching that with, I'm on edge. Like I hear sound tonight, even tonight discussing this, I hear a sound tonight and I'm going to be way more creeped out than usual. That stuff bothers me.
Yeah, there's some stuff about that definitely freaks me out as well. Those found footage films, man, that's what a good genre. What a good spooky genre.
Even Cloverfield, like all these, like they're bringing me back. Blair Witch Project. They're recorded in a way that are naturally thrilling. Like I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah, it's like a movie is like a regular movie. The camera, you don't think about that it's there. The camera is just like if you were in the room watching this stuff. Mm-hmm. In these found footage movies, you feel the presence of the camera. You see what you can see, and you're afraid of everything you can't see. You're like, what's happening everywhere else in this room right now? Because I'm only getting this one view. And I don't know, something is interesting about that because the filmmakers actually changed nothing about filming, but knowing that it's a found footage makes you think of the presence of the camera.
Yes.
Like, I don't know, there's something about this super fascinating.
One honorable mention, supernatural weather movies can be naturally scary because of like the size of something, whether it be so like there was for me when I was a child in the 90s, something about tornadoes and twisters. real big. They came out with the movie Twister. Bro, I love that movie so fucking much, but it scared me because it's like the raw power of nature. But what a cheesy fucking movie that also was like kind of scary. They had that scene where they're in the drive-thru and there's like a fucking F5 coming behind it and The Shining is playing. There is something about that scene where he's coming through the door with the axe, but the tornado is behind the screen. So the tornado starts to tear the screen off. It is cinema.
I'm going to have to go and rewatch Twister. It's been so damn long.
It's a hell of a fucking ride. Okay. Like Wichita, they go through Oklahoma. It's a bunch of redneck looking people. It's so much fun.
Yeah, I was afraid of watching Twister as a kid. Just watching a tornado freaked me out. It freaked me out so much that I couldn't. I think there's a movie, Oliver Twist, has nothing to do with the Twister. Couldn't watch that either. I was like, the Oliver Twist? Nah.
That'd be a fun little like mashup. They could put a Twister into that movie.
I don't even know. Oliver Twist is about like an orphan kid or
it's
something?
Like Victorian children on the streets or something, like Victorian street urchins.
Oi, kicking.
Oi, kicking. Yeah.
And then the F5 Oliver Twist comes through.
Yeah, like Interstellar has a really fucked up supernatural. Well, no, not supernatural. What would you call it? Like a weather,
like a supernatural weather. Yes,
right. Like the world is just falling apart, and they need to colonize somewhere else. Like that's scary. Almost like some would say, almost like quicksand. They're just waiting for their death in this movie. Maybe we need to bring quicksand back. All right.
You guys remember?
You talked about that quicksand kink thing. And did you ever read Firestarter by Stephen King? There's a scene in there. There's a scene in that book where like the father, because he has the ability to push like suggestions into people's heads, right? But sometimes it can cause these ricochets, right? It'll trigger like these subconscious desires that people have, and they'll just start bouncing around their heads. That's why he called them ricochets, and they'll become fixated on these things. And there's a guy that he pushes when they're at this military base, and this guy has this weird interest in garbage disposals, and it's almost like a sexual interest that he has, and the guy ends up killing himself with a garbage disposal. And the way that Stephen King describes the scene is very oddly sexual, and there's kind of a weird link with some kink culture and fear and pain and things like that. That's popped into my head. Firestarter is kind of a scary book, not really, but like,
yeah, that's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But other like weathery situations, Deep Blue Sea I was afraid. I like that movie has put like a medium fear of boats and ships in my heart.
Yeah.
Like,
Sharks do freak me out a little bit, which is goofy because I understand the chances of me getting bit by a shark are so fucking tiny, and I still go into the goddamn ocean. But I'll get a little nervous. Something brushes my leg when I'm in the ocean. You bet your ass that I'm checking to make sure it's not a shark.
oh yeah, but if you find that it's a shark, you can't swim away. First, you need to look around, see who's swimming with you, and then you need to grab onto them. And so that's what Tony wanted me to do when we saw that stingray. I'm like, what do you want from me? I need to swim away. We're going to die here. Oh, you left me, bitch. I don't know what's wrong with this.
He wants to ride you SpongeBob style like Hasselhoff right through the water.
That looked fun. I want to ride Hasselhoff.
You know what movie gave me a lot of anxiety? The ending of Titanic. Like the whole you being stuck in a sink, the ship that's sinking, and it's like you gotta get out of that bitch. And then there's people that have accepted death and they're like, they're just gonna play this song.
Yeah, them motherfuckers playing the music, they just go down with that shit.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Guys were hardcore. They knew that there was no room on those boats.
Yeah. Yeah, that scene gave me a lot of anxiety. I'm like, where would I be? What would I be doing in this? I'm like, where the fuck would I be?
You'd be arguing with Rose. Scoot over. There's room on there.
I'd be like,
I'd be like, yo, I met your ass yesterday. Fuck you. I'm getting on this motherfucking door. Like, I'd make that sacrifice for my wife or kid. You know what I'm saying? Rose, you rich ass. I'm poor, I'm broke as a joke. I've had a hard life. I ain't giving up this door for your ass.
yo, I'd be
You better
special
find yourself a
needs.
boat. These
I'd be
motherfuckers will
special
put you on a
needs
boat.
all day.
Doughy's pretending to be he's pretending to be a kid. He's walking on his knees with a big oversized coat.
Yeah, right. Them people back in the day, they were down with fucking what's the shit? They would have let you die on the boat. They're like one less special needs person. All right?
For some reason, I think that us, if we were on that ship, we would probably have been in like that room down at the bottom, shoveling the coal in. We would have been dead already.
The
We're
fucking
not
boiler
making it
room,
off that boat. The boiler room.
shoveling shit. Yeah, that's terrible.
If we were on that ship, that's where they would have had us.
How
Another
about the day after tomorrow, where like climate change is just the whole world starts to freeze in some areas. Tidal waves are happening elsewhere. There's like 17 tornadoes ripping the West Coast apart, and all these earthquakes. The whole world is like just getting destroyed. That movie freaked me out.
I'm honestly surprised that we haven't seen like a resurgence in like global disaster movies like that. Like it's on everyone's mind. Even the people that don't believe in climate change, they see the shit that's happening. They're just putting their heads in the sand.
Yeah.
Dude, I watched Contagion the other day.
I don't think I've seen
A
that
couple weeks ago. Really fucking good. It is maybe too uncomfortable to watch now after the pandemic.
Yeah.
But it is COVID. It's a movie about COVID, bro. Before COVID ever happened. It's the same shit, except people are fucking dying like a lot in this movie. But like they go through all the outbreak. They talk about all the conversations we had during COVID. And yeah, it's just like kind of freaky that some virus is just running amok in society and killing people, how fast it spreads, how long is it incubating in a person, there's no cure, no vaccine. Like they go through all of that stuff. I don't know, freaks me out. The whole COVID shit really freaked me out. Like towards the beginning I didn't care so much. Then it was like, oh shit, we're going into lockdown, this seems serious. Then I didn't care too much. I was just home, but you know, I don't know.
There was a period where I was scared, where I was wearing rubber gloves and masks, and I was just, it would look like.
I mean, you live in like the dangerous city for a disease that spreads through like contact like that.
Yeah, there was like a 2-month, 3-month period where I was just like shitting my pants because I didn't know what the fuck to do. So you like over prepared, and it's all you could do.
Should have shat in the toilet, bro. Your pants is not a good place to shit.
But once again, the scariest thing in movies is people. Not ghosts, not demons, just other people.
Yep. We'd like to thank you guys for making it through
You're welcome, Doe.
this beauty of an episode. We know it's not your normal. If you've been here this long, hit that like button. And you should probably already have told someone or maybe yelled it out during climax. Let them know about our podcast. Tell them that, we're where it's at.
If kids are still passing notes in class, write the One Up podcast. Pass it down.
Yeah. Stick it in your child's lunchbox and force him to share it to his friends.
Carve us into a school desk or a bench, a tree.
Yeah. And remember,
school desk carving's underrated.
It was a
I
good
had
way.
so much fun sitting at desks throughout my life, just seeing who wrote what on these desks, what's carved into this, who did this thing. Fascinating.
There were some masterpieces that I was like, how did you even do this?
How'd you not get bagged doing this? Scraping? They're fucking wood carving this desk up. Like, so when they started making those like other material, like stone desks and shit, those shits were whack.
It's like polyurethane. Or some
Right.
shit like that.
You lost all the feeling of sitting at a school.
They're doing it
desk,
Shawshank Redemption style. They're carving and then they put it into like their pocket so they can go dump out the wood later on. Man, we're doing some good references today, huh?
Yeah. No, this is a special one. What I would call a doozy. Huh?
Yeah.
Because in the car industry, we call things titties. But in the podcasting industry, we might call them a doozy. All right? So I want everyone.
I see the Tony connection. I don't understand.
I don't
what you're saying.
either. I just did it.
All right, get us out of here, though.
Everyone, you got to remember to always one up yourselves, guys. You guys have a good time. And goodbye.
Peace.